Hi 90 Day fans! Coming up on Skipping the Sheets, what the cameras didn't catch. Jennifer throws drinks while her men throw down. How Elise and Carlo really ended up in bed together. And Colt's recovery struggle. Can he walk today? I watched 90 Day Hunt for Love Between the Sheets episode 11, The Girl Who Treated It Like an Interview, and did the research on what's going on with the cast in real time so you don't have to. Welcome back. There are reportedly only 2 episodes left before the big Hunt for Love tell-all begins to air. The men at the resort seem to be getting antsy and like a little bit aggressive. I don't know if you agree. We'll talk about it a little bit. And Colt will reportedly never ever return to the resort. That's where we kick things off here on Between the Sheets. Colt is FaceTiming Courtney. And also in his interviews, he is really giving her a lot of props again for the way that she treated him and how she was there for him. He also revealed in an interview this week that this was not the end of the recovery for him, the surgery we saw him go through in Mexico. He actually had to have another surgery after this, and his road to recovery was quite long. Colt has revealed that he wasn't even able to walk until just a few months ago, until May. So that kind of lends a little bit of perspective to how serious this all is and reminds us that Colt and Courtney's love story is really just beginning here. Colt says he was super disappointed when he learned that he wasn't going to be able to return to the resort because he was making a lot of good friends. He calls them nice people. Remember, he wasn't there that long, and he was having a lot of fun. So he doesn't really describe how or why he was told he's not going to return, but it obviously has to do with the length of his recovery time and his safety. This is the second time that Colt has hurt his leg on set. So the show and the production definitely have some responsibility here to keep him safe. And I think throwing him back into the games and everything, all the drama that's going down, probably wasn't the best idea for him. Also, this idea that we're seeing him and Courtney develop their love connection without the toxicity of everybody else and without there being other dates around, that really they're having an opportunity to kind of lay the groundwork for a real relationship. Courtney even says that this was the point at which she started to see a life after the hunt for love with Colt. Wow, that blew me away. Girl, you have talked to all of his exes and you know how that would go. And also all the rumors on the internet, we do know how that went, or so we think. But Usman, on the other hand, is wondering, why is Courtney keeping him if she is starting to fall so hard for Colt? Well, your answer there, Usman, is that she's not. There was no interaction between Courtney and Usman this week on Hunt for Love, and really on Between the Sheets, he's just sitting there watching her get googly-eyed and being like, then why doesn't she just tell me that she's over me? Well, she pretty much has, sir. You just refuse to listen because you are still playing your games. Speaking of games, how about we produce a new song? The Tiffany and Carlo remix? Which really just becomes Tiffany and Jay, Carlo and Tiffany. What a mess. The last couple weeks of Hunt for Love have been a little lackluster, I have to say, just as far as moving the storylines forward. This week gave us a whole lot. And I have some ideas as to why it sort of seems like everything was all of a sudden ramped up here. So they show Tiffany's date with Jay, in which we saw him being what I will call aggressive. He wanted a kiss. He wanted to put his hands on Tiffany. He was trying to push things forward out of seemingly nowhere, right? Why all of a sudden, when Jay has clearly plenty of options, is he pushing so hard to get a kiss from Tiffany on the date? Is he in competition with Carlo? Is he been told by the producers that it's time to ramp things up? Is my guess here, because of the way that some of the other men are acting too. Were they gathered together by the producers and told, okay guys, we've only had a couple of love connections, nothing real. Most of you haven't even been on dates. It sounds like there was a lot of dates happening between the Normie-singles that the producers knew they were probably never going to show us. So I think there was some sort of concerted effort here from behind the scenes to go, let's kick these guys into high gear. It wasn't just Jay, it's Carlo as well. Cole and Rob are still going hard. It just seems like there was a shift here in the attitude where all of a sudden the guys were like, I have to get a date. I have to get a kiss. I have to get airtime. You guys let me know if you saw any signs of that kind of encouragement going on from producers. Because really what was going down with Jay behind the scenes, we've heard how he was ordering Burger King to the resort every day. He started a group chat with the rest of the singles. And kind of a funny little tidbit we get this week from Elise. She says it seemed like Jay always hated the 90-day cast members. He was always trying to rally the Normie-singles together. And actually, Elise got herself kicked out of Jay's Normie-singles group chat because none of them liked her. I'm sure there is more to that story, and I think it probably has to do with the fact that Elise was really trying to mix it up with the 90-day cast and getting a lot of camera time. So I can imagine that that didn't maybe go over very well with the rest of the Normie-singles, and that maybe Jay, who is clearly trying to be the ringleader here, didn't care for the fact that Elise was getting so much attention and recognition. So what was really going on there between the Normie-singles? I think we're going to start to sniff a little bit of that out. Whatever it was led to Jay asking out Tiffany, who is absolutely mortified watching her date back on Between the Sheets, and I think we all were. Even when I was watching it on the show, I'm like covering my face, cowering on the couch. It is so secondhand embarrassing for both of them to watch him try to push this so hard when she clearly didn't want it. I don't mean to imply that Jay crossed any lines here, but again, we just have to keep in mind people are going to act differently when there's cameras on them. There wasn't much going on between the 90-dayers and the Normie-singles before Jay and Tiffany's kiss. Carlo even admits he did spend the night at Tiffany's once before all this action that we've seen this week, and that they cuddled, but absolutely nothing else. So it seems like there wasn't a hot, fiery relationship developing between the two of them. A little side note here, Carlo also dropped this tidbit on Between the Sheets. He says he is not trying to hook up on a first date. And so, of course, Between the Sheets was recorded several months after they were all at the Hunt for Love resort, and everyone is contemplating about whether Elise and Carlo are together now, whether there was a proposal there at the end of the show. Of course not. Come on, you guys. We know better than that. But Carlo says on Between the Sheets, he kind of relays that he is not trying to hook up on a first date. And that made it sound like he was very single at the time of filming Between the Sheets. And I just predict that what happens between he and Elise does not amount to much, but we shall see. It's just confusing because it seemed to come out of nowhere, Carlo asking Elise out on a date. So let's set the scene. They are at Sexy Bingo. There's been a lot of touching going on, probably some drinks consumed. And again, it sounds like Carlo just got this idea out of nowhere. He explains that before this, he and Elise had what he called a brother-sister bond. That is so weird and freaky, and so I just do not understand how Carlo went from that to asking her on a date if it wasn't encouraged by production behind the scenes. Elise has been dropping some little hints every week, like even kind of since the first couple weeks of the show. When she sits down on Between the Sheets, she has said, Carlo was talking to me about Tiffany. Carlo was saying he's not that into her. And now it's becoming, oh, Carlo was telling me that he was jealous I was dating other singles. One whose name she can't even remember, and the other one she says Gaston. I assume she means Rocky. Love that Beauty and the Beast reference though. But we didn't see Elise going on any of these dates with the other Normie-singles. My point is that that was happening, and that was all possibly going to be part of the show, but they got what they got. And I think they were thinking at this point it wasn't much, and they started really pushing these guys. So Carlo asked Elise out on a date, and apparently even before Carlo asked Elise out, he was supposedly texting her when he was on his dates with Tiffany, saying that he wasn't having fun and he would rather be with Elise. Has Elise been telling us these things and kind of dropping these little Easter eggs for us to cover her ass this whole time, knowing that she hooked up with Carlo and it wasn't going to be a good look for her? She has really been trying to save her reputation throughout the airing every week? Or is she straight telling the truth? Her and Carlo had a genuine friendship from the beginning. That still doesn't mean you gotta go on a date, sis. Well, maybe Carlo did it because Tiffany told him to. Okay, we're putting the pieces together now. That makes a little bit of sense. And Tiffany explains that's exactly what happened. But Carlo refused to go out on dates with other people and get to know the other singles until this whole Elise thing. So Tiffany's like, everyone was telling me that he's just trying to make me jealous with Elise. So Tiffany was not at all concerned. I think if I was there as her friend, I would have told her the same thing. Would have been like, no, I don't think you have a reason to be concerned. We're not seeing a lot of genuine heat between he and this girl who he just said was like his sister. I guess she did have reason to be concerned because at Sexy Bingo, according to Tiffany, Carlo was stripping for her, dancing for her. Did it turn you all on? Did you love to see Carlo shake his thing? I don't know. He's coming off as a little bit cheeseball to me, but we will keep watching now that we've heard he's such a good lay. According to Elise, Carlo was whispering in her ear all night, Tiffany is a loser. I can't wait to be with you, blah, blah, blah. How many drinks were flowing here? We haven't seen Carlo speak that negatively about anyone. I can't imagine there's any reason for anyone to call Tiffany a loser of all things. We know a lot about these people's past, and there's a lot of digs we could take to any of these cast members. But to just say that he was calling Tiffany a loser makes it a little bit less believable to me. So let's check in with Carlo. What was the real story? What was going on during Sexy Bingo? He says he was playing them both. And that when he went to throw his shirt, the two ladies conveniently seemed to be sitting next to each other. Oh, wonder who made that happen. And he went to go throw it between them, like as if it was a bridal bouquet. And he said, let the gods decide who would catch his sweaty, disgusting, according to Tiffany, t-shirt. Carlo, this is the first time he's admitting that he is kind of starting to play the game. I think we've caught him a lot of times. One good example is him inadvertently starting the rumor about Rob and Elise hooking up. He really does not seem to be calculating or really trying to mislead anyone or trying to pull anything to get camera time until here. You are starting to learn, Carlo. They've maybe been at the resort for, I'm guessing, about 3 weeks at this point. He's been watching this all go down and he is learning some things from the 90-day cast members. All right, you keep playing the game, bro. It apparently is going to get him some booty at the end of this episode. But there is a lot more to discuss before them. Tim wants to let us all know that he thought Rocky's little twerk off session was not cute. Tim goes on a bit of a diatribe on Between the Sheets about how men shouldn't twerk, and it leads me to a little diatribe about how not just men, it's not about that, how no one should wear as much eyeliner as Tim has on. It is just one big, thick, dark line. Everybody, please hear me here. I'll admit it, I've got a few pet peeves. This is like number 2 next to loud blinkers. Is people wearing too much eyeliner. What I deem too much, I know. How is it up to me? It's because if you've got a thick, dark line from the inner corner of your eye to the outer corner just on the bottom, it brings your whole face down, makes your eyes look heavy. There's no balance between the bottom and the top. It doesn't matter if it's a man or if it's Kim Plath on Welcome to Plathville. When you're sitting there looking like a fool in too much eyeliner talking about how someone else shouldn't be twerking, it was only the first time on this week's episode that Tim made me a little bit agitated, and he doesn't usually do that. So I had to let you all know how annoyed I am. So I will get off my eyeliner soapbox now because I'm going to give Rocky a little bit of credit too. I might have just talked some shit, but here's something nice. Rocky, who is a very interesting looking person, right? And he has shown some questionable behavior on the show, absolutely. This is the second week where we're actually hearing him talk like a normal person on Between the Sheets. And he seems actually a little bit insightful. Like he kind of has some thoughts about what's going on and that are interesting. And he also seems like nice enough when he's just sitting there chatting with the rest of the cast on the couch. So I may have judged Rocky too harshly and too quickly, and we're gonna keep an eye on him because it seems like so many of the women are interested in him, and I just cannot imagine that somebody's not going to end up with Rocky. Well, it's not going to be Jennifer, that's for sure, because she has got her hands full still with Cole and Rob. This is getting deeper than ever for the 11th week in a row. Jennifer and Rob's jet ski date, which looked like a whole lot of fun. I don't know about you guys. I've never been on a jet ski before. I might get to for the first time in 2 weeks, and I'm really excited. It just looks like so much fun to me, and I cannot imagine that Cole felt very good, like standing on the beach sadly watching them drive around in their jet skis. Can you imagine? Tear. But there were a couple things that we did not see on the show, some never before seen, where Jennifer and Rob were talking about him going to visit her in Colombia. And while that conversation wrapped up kind of quickly, on Between the Sheets, they showed a little bit more of it, where Jennifer straight up asked him, she's like, is that a commitment that you really are going to come and see me? And he said, yes. we are about to build something beautiful. And they sealed it with a kiss. It was much more intimate and serious and less fake when they played out the whole scene. It almost made me feel like Jennifer might have some real feelings for Rob. But Cole let us know what's really going on. Cole says he and Jennifer were having these same kind of conversations. I assume maybe about him going to visit her and about the future they're building together. And Cole's reaction to watching Jennifer having the same kind of talk with Rob was that Cole feels he needs to be more confident and really show her what he has to offer. I expected Cole, as I'm sure you all did, to say, seeing Jennifer do that makes me realize I should put my attention elsewhere and never speak to her ever again. He's apparently just never ever going to say that. Maybe Cole, who has seemed like the fool in all of this, maybe he is the smartest player of all. And in the final week of the resort, he's going to be the one to either find a love connection or who has discovered something so deep about himself. There would be some sort of redemption for Cole. Some of the female fans are really liking him. And if producers play their cards right with Cole, he could be someone who ends up on The Single Life or just 90 Day Diaries. So for him to say that he's just going to keep trying to do the same thing with Jennifer, I'm like, it's time to take a turn, bro. We want to keep seeing you on the show. But I guess Cole has a reason to be holding out. There is some dissent that happens between Jennifer and Rob. At the end of their date, they are not making any more plans. Actually, Rob revealed once they got their phones back, was an interesting way to put it. He says the vibe changed. Jennifer suddenly got quiet and just wanted to go to her room and spend the rest of her night by herself. So Rob, of course, naturally assumed that it was because Cole must have been blowing up Jennifer's phone and that he convinced her to go maybe spend the night with him. Well, Jennifer's gonna have a little bit of a different take on that we apparently have to wait for until next week. But just keep in mind that was a lot of drama going back and forth for one evening. Let's talk about another night where some drama went down that we never saw or heard about that was 10 times more ruckus than anything I think that we have seen. So follow me here. Jennifer's gonna throw down before Elise hooks up. I just wanted to say that. I thought it was cutesy. This story is coming from Carlo on Between the Sheets. So he sets the scene for us. It is after sexy bingo night, and Carlo's having a little party in his room, a little after party. He said a few of the Normie-singles were there, and also him, Elise, I think he said Rocky, and Cole, and Jen, and Rob are there together. So yes, in the same room, hanging out off camera, as was Cole, and Carlo and Elise. So Carlo says Jen and Rob were there together, very much together at the after party. So Cole and Elise started to kind of cuddle and get together and show some interest in each other. Carlo assumes in order to make Jennifer jealous, right? That Cole was maybe pushing that. But it worked. You guys, listen to this. Jennifer threw a beer on Elise. No cameras around, no attention to be gotten. Jennifer is freaking out, getting jealous because Elise and Cole are cuddling up, and she throws a beer on this girl. And I can just picture this. We know enough about Jennifer, maybe we didn't see it, but I absolutely believe it. And can you just see Elise with her tall, skinny ass, the beer probably just dripping off her body in some beautiful, bright colored outfit, tall as hell, getting up to tower over Jennifer and maybe take her to task on this. But that was all that happened. According to Carlo, that's when Jennifer and Rob exited. And what happened next is what really is the catalyst of the whole episode. Carlo explains that at that point, once Rob and Jennifer left, he encouraged Elise to hook up with Cole. Because Carlo says he was starting to have some feelings for Elise, and he apparently wanted to continue seeing Tiffany instead, and also thought that Cole should probably be the one, if anyone, right, to go and hook up with Elise, because he could use a win, and also that would make Jennifer super jealous. Obviously, after she already got jealous enough with just them cuddling up. So Carlo was trying to ship Elise and Cole, but then Cole left the after party, and it left Carlo and Elise all alone, at which point they decided to stop fighting whatever real or fake friendship or romantic feelings they had. Good thing we've got a couple more weeks to talk all this out. But at that point, that sexy bingo after party night, after Elise. Oh, wait. Oh my gosh, I just thought of this. So was she still covered in beer? Or did she like shower at Carlo's place? Oh, now I have so many questions. Might have to reach out and ask her about that one. But whatever it was, it did not deter Carlo from hooking up with her, he says 2 or 3 times that night. And of course, that's the night that he is going to go and talk to Tiffany about at the end of the episode. Elise is kind of watching this all play out, and I was interested to hear, what is she thinking about herself as she's seeing this all watch back? Because she's been very paranoid in the past after the first episode when she, I guess, threw herself at Rob, essentially, for lack of a better phrase. And she has really kind of been trying to say in interviews and stuff since then, no, I'm a good girl and I'm a relationship person and I don't just hook up with everyone, while also on the other side of her mouth talking about all the pro athletes and all that kind of stuff. But we have to give her a little bit of grace, because when you're on camera and you're being asked questions and you're being encouraged, and this is her first time, she's not really sure what kind of a reputation she wants to set for herself. And I'm also starting to see that she is learning some things about herself as she watches this back, to the point where she says, hey, I sound pathetic and desperate watching myself in the conversation with Carlo talking about how we had hooked up. She said, yeah, they did have a strong connection, but also part of it, Elise admits on Between the Sheets, part of hooking up with Carlo was just to get one over on Tiffany. Because according to Elise, Tiffany was talking shit about Elise and that Tiffany was manipulating Carlo. What? If that is true, we did not see any of that. We have not seen Carlo be negative or awful really at all until this week. We have not seen him be manipulative and calculating before this, I guess until this week. But you can bet that if Tiffany was saying some things about Elise, we would have definitely seen it to ramp up the drama leading up to this. So I'm just not so sure about that. Tiffany doesn't seem like much of a shit talker to me. Remember, Elise says Carlo was doing the same thing, talking to her about Tiffany. So to Elise's point, she even says sticking it to Tiffany was the cherry on top of her great night with Carlo. I was surprised to hear that. She keeps calling herself a girl's girl too. So admitting part of it was really just to win a competition with another woman. Elise, we've said we are Team Elise before here on Skipping the Sheets. Don't make me take that back. But Elise doesn't really need to hear our thoughts on this, or mine specifically, because she's already getting it from Jennifer, who says Elise was judging Jennifer while being shady herself. Jennifer even says they weren't being clear with Tiffany and they should have been honest. Jennifer, like, you are not being clear or honest with Cole in the exact same situation. Jennifer goes so far as to call Elise the hypocrite. There's not even anything to say about that. Hypocrisy sees hypocrisy, and that's the definition of being a hypocrite, and they're both just hypocriting each other, throwing hypothetical beers at each other's hypocritical butts. I think there could be a big, huge bust-up yet between Jennifer and Elise. That could be coming. Let's talk a little bit more about what could have been in a never-before-seen scene. This was shocking to me. Did you guys catch this? Courtney and Joe go back inside Tiffany's room when Carlo comes out to talk to her, and the conversation between them is so revealing. Courtney tells Joe that she kind of likes Carlo too, as he is telling Tiffany that he had sex with Elise. Courtney also says that she and Chantel were both going to ask Tiffany if they could go on a date with Carlo, because they both found him to be attractive and interesting, and were up for a little bit of Carlo. But Courtney and Chantel both backed off of Carlo because Courtney says they could see that Tiffany had real feelings for him. So again, that's the stuff that I trust. What was really going on? Not from the first hand, but from someone who was right there and knows the game too and saw what was really going on, i.e. Courtney, the queen of tea spilling. So she says Tiffany really, really liked Carlo. That makes what he did to her with Elise just all the more sad. And I've really been rooting for Tiffany to be the one to find real love here. She seems like the one who needs it, who wants it, who's ready for it. We've gotten to know her kids and we really love them too. And that could be a story that could really play out on the show for a long time if she found someone. So that's what I've been rooting for, and I kind of did think it might be Carlo. He seemed like a normal guy, but now here he is, going TV, going Hollywood, letting himself get caught up in all the hullabaloo. Let's wrap up now with a few random reveals that I caught on Between the Sheets. The cast played 2 truths and a lie, which made it very easy to get these fun little tidbits about their past. Colt revealed that as a kid, he was in a traveling dance troupe that even performed at Disney. So I've been saying, there's something up with Colt's childhood. He's mentioned a few other weird things, and we know his mom, Debbie, and that he's a mama's boy. And he mentioned at one point that he didn't really go to school as a kid. He's an only child. We know they're a bunch of weirdos. You can see that right here. I am too. So I am so curious about Colt's upbringing and how he came to be the man that he is. And now we know there was some dance shoes involved in all of that. And I'm guessing a very cheeseball costume. Couple more little reveals. Carlo said he has had 2 threesomes in his life. Okay, maybe gets around a little more than I would have thought before becoming the cool guy on their show. And kind of a fun one, Courtney has met Michael Jordan twice. Gotta know more about that. You know what, guys? I'll ask her. I'm gonna get the story on that. And also that she sadly is allergic to chocolate. I was really thinking that Courtney, the cute blonde tea spiller who loves to drink tequila, was like my spirit animal and we could be BFFs. But the chocolate thing's gonna be a no-go for me. So sorry, Court. I guess we could eat something else if we ever hang out. Elise, meanwhile, a girl after my own heart, had a 4.0 GPA in college. Again, her just really trying to give us 2 Elises. Is she the Elise who wants nothing more than to get married and have a family, wants to have a good reputation and is a 4.0 college student? Or is she Elise, the Miami girl who dates professional athletes and wants her guy to be, what did she say, like hot and funny and rich and all the things? Who are you, Elise? Well, we know who Tim is, and we know that he is kind of annoyingly to me a professional wrestling fan. His little reveal on 2 Truths and a Lie is that he has had a beer with Ric Flair. And I would like to add, and he does not have the sense to not brag about it. The world of professional wrestling is full of a lot of problematic figures, and it is also full of a lot of stand-up, wonderful people, Hall of Famers, monumentous heroes, and Tim has probably met a lot of them at this point, and he should bring up some of the other ones. Maybe X-Pac. I'm always going to have opinions when Tim goes and hangs out with the wrestlers, so that will not be the last time on that. What are we going to see next week? You guys, we're finally ramping up. Stuff's finally going down after a couple of boring weeks, and we've been wondering how this all gets to be so serious between Courtney and Colt. She is finally going to tell us about their first time getting it on. I need to maybe do my synonym research and find some more euphemisms and such for all of that, because this show gets more risque every week, and I have never talked about such trashy stuff. I've never covered a dating show before. I say trashy without judgment because I've covered all the other 90 Day Madness, but I just haven't had to talk about sex so much, so I really need a few more euphemisms under my belt and maybe some YouTube safe ways of talking about this stuff. But Courtney's going to talk about it next week, finally. Tiffany is going to tell us a little bit of what Carlo was really saying in this conversation. So we got the beginning of it this week. Next week, we'll finally see him, breaking the news to her reaction. And then it seems like she's going to have more to say even on Between the Sheets. So keep that in mind as it is all playing out. And then Tim will lose his mind and shout at Elise about hooking up with Carlo. He's going to, of course, go to bat for his good friend Tiffany. And Elise defends herself with more possible lies about being closer to Jen even than Tiffany. So either Elise is going to give us more stuff that's going to seem like a whole lot of BS, or it is going to shine more light on it and we are going to really find out who Elise is and what her true intentions were with Carlo. Not only that, but Jennifer will explain what happened after her and Rob's date. They got their phone back. She actually saw a text that Rob received when it seemed like he was talking to another girl romantically. And it sounded like Jennifer knew who it was. Either maybe it's somebody at the resort, or was it Rob's ex-wife, not Rob's estranged very much current wife, Sophie. The who of that, I think, is going to be the biggest drop because there was no indication as to who it might be. So they are teasing us so good. And finally, Cole and Rob will get all up in each other's faces and throw down. They didn't show in the preview this week of them actually like going at each other and like doing a lot of this with the fists. But I'm pretty sure many, many weeks ago or in other previews, maybe in the mid-season trailer, we did see them actually throw down. So I think they're going to get in an actual physical fight, more so than just throwing beers like the ladies were this week. And it is going to keep getting hot, hot, hot in here until we finally get to the big old tell-all. I am keeping track of anything that might drop about it. They are being so tight-lipped. You guys, I have never before seen there be nothing come out of a tell-all. All we know is that some of the 90-dayers exes showed up. That is all we know. Nobody will say a word besides the fact that it was filmed probably in late June, possibly early July. So you know that means it's going to be good, and I cannot wait. We will be here breaking it down every episode, and even beyond that too. We're going to keep this going and move on to the other series too once Hunt for Love is over. But make sure that you are subscribed here to my YouTube channel so that you do not miss any of the 90-day news, couples updates. I have gone back and gone through every single couple who has ever been on any season of 90 Day Fiancé and all 6 seasons of The Other Way, whether they are together now, who they're together with, and they've been to jail. You will not believe what has gone down with these people in real time, some of them that you haven't seen for years. So make sure you are subscribed to my channel, and please also listen on Apple Podcasts. If you're a pod person or Spotify, I would really appreciate if you would leave a review there. They're getting a lot of traction there, but I know it's hard to take a moment to write a review and let people know really what you think about Skipping the Sheets. So I would super appreciate that. These are always going to drop on Tuesdays, and we're going to get some bonus episodes in here too pretty soon where we're going to start talking about Happily Ever After, because I just have so much to say about Jasmine and Gino and Tiger Lily, and I'm having so much fun doing it with this show. We got to keep it moving. So thank you all so much for watching and listening, and I will see you all before next week here on the channel, and for sure next week for more Skipping the Sheets. Bye-bye.